Okay, when you're ready.
Namo Davis, Namo Davis, Namo Welcome to today's service. Slide. Our sutra today will be Jisege on page 23.
Midan yorai ni udo yo san ye Ujo Shaka Orai Ni Udo Yo Sha Ye Ra Aku. ni udo yo sa ye ra aku. Yagon Chosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Humanzo Sepujo Shoga Gao Muryoko Hu Idai Seishu Usai Shobingu Se Pujo Shoga Gashi Jo Butendo Myosho Chojipo Kukyo Misho Mon Se Pujo Shoga Ryokujin Shonen Jo Eshu Bongyo Shigu Mujodo Isho Tenin Shi Jinriki and Daiko Usho Musaido Shoujo Samkumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kai Hichi Egen Meshi Komo An He Sokusho Akudo Tsudaten Zen Shumon Koso Jomanzo Ioro Jipo Nichigaten Shujuki Tenko Onpugen Ishukai Hozo Kosei Kudoku Ho Jo Dai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Bud Gusoku Shutoku Hon Gane Shiten Joman Toku Isan Gaio Nyobuten Mugechi Tsudaten Nihusho Gangaku Eriki Toshi Zai Shoson Shigan Yakoka Daisen Okando Koku Shotenin To Uchi Myoke Amandambu Namandambu Jodo se istai do ishin oryo arato. Namanda, namamada, namanda, 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 namanda.
Will everyone please rise for the reading of the three treasures on page 3? Fortunate is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Rare is it to encounter the teachings of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not seek the truth of the Dharma in this life, in what life shall we find it? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken within us our highest aspiration. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the Dharma and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriad of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful teaching. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Please be seated. We will now hear a message from Reverend Warwick.
Namanda, namanda, namanda. Computers fast, operators slow. Good morning. Welcome to our first in-person indoor service in about 750 days. I am so happy to see everybody here today. As Chief Dan George said in the movie Little Big Man, makes my heart soar like a hawk to see everybody here. Please join me in Gasho for words from the larger Sukhavati Vyuha Sutra. This is Dharmakaya speaking before he became Amida Buddha. Before Lokisvara Raja Tathagata, I have now declared my universal vows. May he verify that they will be the cause of supreme enlightenment. Should I not fulfill these matchless vows, may I not become the incomparable honored one possessed of the 10 powers. Those with minds incapable of the constant practice of giving, those impoverished, I will save universally and relieve all suffering. I will benefit the world, bringing peace and happiness. As the one supremely able, I will perform and fulfill all practices. To those impoverished, I will be a hidden treasure store, carrying all good acts to perfect completion I will be unrivaled. Among the multitudes, I will preach the Dharma with a lion's roar. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. You know, whenever someone is pressed to tell you what their ultimate goal in life is, invariably, after mentioning things like health, good health, wealth, long life, or having good friends, good companions, success, children, grandchildren, and so on, they will always invariably say, you know what? When it gets right down to it, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. That's what most folks say. That wish has driven most of mankind, humankind, for thousands and thousands of years. I just want to be happy. But happiness is sometimes a very difficult thing to possess. It's difficult because we don't always have a good idea of what true happiness really is. We usually project our own ideas of happiness onto our everyday existence. Then we try to make sure that our life meets that criteria. In other words, we set up what we want to be happy and we work towards that, what we feel will make us happy. But we can correctly say that happiness is truly universal. It's a universal goal. Everybody, even the animals, want to be happy. While at the same time, it's also a very universal mystery. And we talk a lot about happiness, and yet our definitions of happiness are very many and varied quite a bit. In 1963, a man named Jimmy Soul had a one-hit wonder titled, see if you recognize it, If You Want to Be Happy for the Rest of Your Life. Remember that one? It goes like this. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you. A pretty woman makes her husband look small and often causes, I can't sing it, but I'm trying, and often causes his downfall. As soon as he marries her, then she starts to do things that will break his heart. But if you make an ugly woman your wife, you'll be happy for the rest of your life. An ugly woman cooks meals on time and she'll always give you peace of mind. This is a bit dated, but I figured we'd get a kick out of it. So that Jimmy Soul and this Jimmy, the formulas for happiness are quite different. I married a pretty girl and I have been happy as a pig in the mud ever since. So his formula is not good for me. There's another old saying that money can't buy happiness, but it sure makes misery a whole lot easier to live with. I believe that. But happiness is really elusive. Here's a little short story about finding happiness. This person says, once my friend told me my fortune using tarot cards. He said that soon I would find happiness. Next day when I went out of the house, a high voltage power line broke nearby. A Rottweiler almost bit me, and then a person riding a bike smashed into me. I thought, is this happiness? Because of the bike accident, I sprained my ankle and went to the hospital. And while I was waiting in line, a girl with a bandaged arm sat down nearby. We got to talking, and she told me how she'd had bad luck all day, and that when her bus stopped very suddenly, she fell forward and broke her arm. He says it was nice talking to her, and then I didn't even notice it when my turn came to see the doctor. We exchanged phone numbers and left. Now that she's the mother of my children, I understand what happiness was that my friend had predicted for me. So happiness comes around eventually. The Buddha tells us that we cause our own suffering, unhappiness, but he also said that we can get beyond this happiness. We can transcend our own mistakes made over many, many, many lifetimes, and ultimately experience what is known as true happiness, something we call nirvana. First of all, let's look at what true happiness is and what it isn't from the Buddhist perspective. A famous Buddhist saying goes like this. It says, happiness, or sukha, is that which can be born with ease. It's easy to be happy. It feels good. Suffering, dukkha, is that which cannot be born with ease. That which cannot be born with ease. This is about as simple and direct a definition of happiness as you can come up with. Buddhist teaching says that what is not happiness, false happiness, is the gratification of our personal desires. The bigger car, the bigger house, it just goes on, and we never seem to get all that we desire. But according to the Dalai Lama, the Nobel Peace Prize winner and the spiritual leader of Tibet, you have the power to bring more happiness into your life by simply training yourself to be happier. You just tell yourself. Rona tells me this all the time. She says, smile. And I work at it. According to Thich Nhat Hanh, a Zen monk and author of many books, as you well know, he says, there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And I like that. Happiness is the way. The next part of this is going to be a little bit long, but I think if you listen carefully, it'll have meaning for you. In the Mangala Sutra, the Sutra on happiness, the Buddha was asked, I think by Ananda, many gods and men are eager to know what are the greatest blessings which bring about a peaceful and happy life. Please, Tathagata, will you teach us? And the Buddha responded, he said, not to be associated with foolish ones, to live in the company of wise people, honoring those who are worth honoring. This is the greatest happiness. To live in a good environment, to have planted wholesome seeds, and to realize that you are on the right path. This is the greatest happiness. To have a chance to learn and grow, to be skillful in your profession or craft, practicing precepts and loving speech. This is the greatest happiness. To be able to serve and support your parents, to cherish and love your family, and to have a vocation which brings you joy. This is the greatest happiness. To live honestly, generous in giving, to offer support to relatives and friends, living a life of blameless conduct. This is the greatest happiness. And last but not least, to clearly avoid unwholesome actions, not caught by alcoholism or drugs, to diligently walk on the path of good. This is the greatest happiness. Reverend Nobuo Haneda, which many of you know quite well, was discussing this most basic question in our life: what is happiness? And he told this short story, and I cut it down quite a bit, but about 10 years ago after a seminar, and I'll tell it from his perspective. After a seminar held at Seattle Betsuin, a university student approached me and said to me, Dr. Haneda, I am writing a paper on human happiness, and I am comparing various religious definitions of happiness. Could you give me a Buddhist definition? And he said, I answered, if you can forget your individual happiness, that's the happiness defined in Buddhism. If you can forget your ego, your individual happiness, and bring happiness to others, that's the definition of happiness to Buddha. If the issue of your happiness ceases to be an issue, that's the happiness defined by Buddhism. If it's no longer an issue, if you're no longer seeking happiness, it just comes to you. He said, then the student asked me, how then can we forget ourselves, our individual happiness? Reverend Haneda goes on to say, if you intentionally attempt to forget yourself or your happiness, you won't be able to do so. If you intentionally try, you won't be able to. You focus out there, not here. But if you encounter something more powerful than yourself, something more important than your happiness, then you will be able to forget yourself, and you will find happiness. You will forget your own happiness, and in turn will find happiness. And he goes on to say, an unhappy person is a person who cannot forget himself, being always concerned with his individual happiness and welfare. And I think probably the Buddhist concept of hell symbolizes this condition in which we, when one has only himself or herself, only his self-concerns, such as what to eat or wear or buy, when he's only concerned with that, that's a Buddhist definition of hell. But then who is a happy person? Again, a happy person is a person who can forget himself or herself, his individual happiness. They are so fascinated with something outside of themselves that they can forget themselves. A lover is happy because he or she is thinking of their girlfriend or boyfriend, forgetting themselves. When you feel that way, you completely forget yourself. An artist is happy because he has absorbed in the creative activity, forgetting himself. And I think we encounter, I think when we encounter the wisdom and compassion that is Amida Buddha, then we can forget ourselves. We can forget about what lies ahead, after death, between now and then. We can just forget ourselves and devote ourselves to the gratitude of all the things that come with Amida Buddha. We can then think, your happiness is my happiness. Your happiness is my happiness. In closing, please join me in Gassho again for a reading from Shinran's Notes on Once Calling and Many Calling. We will unfailingly reach the pure land of happiness, whereupon we will be brought to realize the same enlightenment of great nirvana as Amida Tathagata, being born in the flower of that perfect enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida. Again, thank you for joining us today here, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And be happy. Don't worry. Thank you. I apologize, but I made a little snafu this morning. I forgot to have the and Shotsuki Hoyo, we always read members that have passed away during this month in years gone by. And we forgot to read them. So I'd like to take a few minutes and read those names and pay tribute to those persons who have gone before us. Richard William Arima, Reiko Yamamoto, Dennis Tanaka, Barbara Kimiko Tsuji, Kenzo Konishita, Frank Masaru Arima, George Aiko Taketa, Frank Shinji Natsuhara, Bingo, Saki, Tetsuro Kawa, Kaoru Yanagawa, Shari Watanabe. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Warwick. Please rise for the Gatha Ondoku-san 2 on page 153 and remain standing for the daily creed of Jodo Shinshu. Please turn to page 8 and read along with me the daily creed of Jodo Shinshu. Realizing enlightenment is assured and reciting the Nembutsu, I shall live my life cheerfully and positively. Understanding the oneness of life and cultivating self-reflection, I shall diligently attend to my life's tasks in gratitude. Recognizing the Dharma path, I shall help spread the teachings of the Buddha. Appreciating the Buddha Dharma, I shall respect and help others, working for the good of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Please be seated. Some really quick announcements. We do need flower donations for the upcoming plant sale. Those can be left on the back porch. Sorry, this is all over the place. So we crossed that part out? Oh, I apologize. The flower donations are for the Hanamido. You can leave them outside on the back porch for next Saturday before noon. Were there any other announcements that anybody wanted to make? All right. Please come up to Oshoko if you haven't already done so, and thank you for attending today's service.